One of the elements that I spoke about in that episode that got a little bit of attention was around bringing up the price. Today, I want to tackle that specifically. How do you bring up the price without sounding salesy? We're going to double tap on that. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist Podcast. I'm your host, Donald C. Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. And I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. On this episode, we're going to talk about price, baby. And how do we do that more effectively without coming across as salesy? If this is your first time listening to our podcast, please subscribe and I'll notify you every time we drop a new piece of episode. And if you are listening to it and you love it, please go ahead and share this podcast with somebody else that can benefit from it. But let's go back in. Last time I spoke with you, I did an episode all around ghosting. What happens if you get ghosted? It looked something like this. They did a discovery call, and this individual is working as an SMB, and this individual takes on a lot of the hats. He's doing a lot of work, this prospect that he's working with. He takes a lot of hands-on opportunities as well with his team members. So with that being said, he is very busy. Who is not, right? And he is not, he wants to get the solution that they have, but it's just the fact that he's just overwhelmed with a lot of other things going on. The first thing, so he set an appointment at the end of that meeting, but the person doesn't accept the calendar invite. So he's doing the part, which I talked about previously in another episode. Be clear at the very end of your meetings and set a next step. So he did that. He did his part, but the client did not accept that calendar request. So what do you do at this point? Leading up to this meeting, it's been several days and he sent emails. All right. So I spoke about all of that last time, but one of the elements that came up in that piece was about how do we talk about the money? Now, I want to give you a context with this. I did do a webinar on this recently with Sell Better, and we were talking about how you talk about price and bring this up with your prospect. I gave a lot in the last episode, so I want you to go back in it, but specifically I want to talk about how you bring it up. That piece got a little bit of interest. So let's dive in and let's talk about it. What I find that happens when it comes to price is that most salespeople don't want to talk about it. They feel it's awkward. Number two, they delay it. They wait until the prospect brings it up. Or worse, they hold the price until the very end and hope that everything works out magically. If any of those sound like you, I want you to drop a note in the comment. I mean, I've been there, so I'm not going to lie. I'm being accountable. I've been there. But here's what I've learned. You can't surprise the buyers. You don't need to surprise the buyers. We don't want to be surprised. There should be no surprise at this point in the sales process. You should be clear. They should be clear. It should be transparent. It can be awkward if you make it awkward. And most times what I find is that salespeople think that if I say something and say the number too soon, they'll walk away. Another thing that I find that salespeople say is that if I share the range, they'll think it's too high. Or this one is crazy. Let me show the value first, and then I'll talk about the investment. I don't care how valuable the solution is. If they just don't have the money, it is not going to work. If you're selling to people who are looking for $100 solution and your solution start off at $1,000, I don't care how much of a salesperson you are, the math is not going to be mathing and it's not going to work. So you want to try to avoid that as much as possible. These create friction that is not necessary. Like there's some tension that you need, but I don't want to create friction that causes the deal to not move forward. Here's what you can do. If you start hiding the price, the buyer's going to have anxiety and the buyer's going to think several things. One, how much is this going to cost me? Number two, is this within my range? Or three, should I slow down until I know? And when you find the slowdown is that they're not doing much. They're, missing appointments. Something comes up. And again, it goes back to what I talked about in the last episode. Maybe they're just interested, but they're not looking for a solution. But here's where I talk about it. How do I make the shift? So let's say you had an initial conversation with the prospect, you called them and you had a conversation, went great. Now you're in your disco. In that disco, I need to make sure that we are talking about investment. I might figure out a little bit more about what do you use, Medic or MedPick, or you use Bant or whatever solutions you use. Maybe you're using Sandler approach or you're using the Challenger approach. You're going to figure out some kind of value that you can offer because you're going to figure out the challenge or the issue or the pain or whatever you want to call it. Like you're going to figure out the problem. find out how much of that problem, how much is maybe costing them, or how the impact of that problem on the organization, and figure out why they want to change it now. What's the ramification if they don't? Now, I always, in this meeting, I want to give them a range. I want to help them understand that this is again being transparent. So I would say something like this: Jasmine, people who usually invest with us and partner with us based on the challenges that you're facing invest anywhere from $16,000 to $19,000. Is that within your range, or of what you guys have set apart internally? You might say no. Okay, what have you guys spoken about internally then? And if they say, well, we're thinking more something around the $5,000 range, at that point, I need to help them understand we're probably not going to be the best fit for them. And that's okay, because we want to help them to make a decision as soon as possible. The core part of this whole thing is that, one, they're finding a solution, but two, they're making an investment. That means they're going to spend something. Ain't nobody coming to a conversation looking for something free like that. They know, as you're talking to a salesperson, there's money involved. They just want to figure out what that price is as soon as possible. And if you have some stuff on your website, if you have information you can share with them, again, this is great. I had a conversation with a gentleman the other day, and one of the things that he spoke about was exactly this idea. In B2C, we tend to give more, the buyer tend to know the investment before they start making a conversation or go deep in a process. In B2B, we tend to elongate that process. We want to give the value first before we can get share with them the cost. But if they can't afford it, I just want to stress that doesn't matter how much you give, it ain't gonna work. So you want to get them to do that. But how do you bring it up without being a pushy part of the process? How do you do it so you don't feel like the buyer doesn't feel that this is sleazy or just some sales tactic? What I like to do as well is I love to use mutual action plan, and I can also talk about being aligned. So that step one is respect them, and I kind of spoke about this already, but help them to get aligned. I might say something around transparency or alignment. Can we align on a budget expectation before we go deeper? I want to make sure that everything we discuss fits within what you're planning. And you can use the line that I have. And I'll put this in the show notes as well. Another one that you can do, step 2, is to give them the range like we talked about. And then step 3, if they say it's too high, let's explore it. So I'd love to find out, ask them, if they say, yeah, that's a little bit too high, I say, totally understand. Again, I want to be transparent. I want to be able to help you to fix a solution, fix the problem. Already established to them where people who partner with us, what typically they invest to fix that problem. What number have you all discussed internally? I just gave my number, so I want them to give their number. And I might say, let's be transparent with each other. I want to make sure if this is going to work, I want to be able to help you out. But if it's not, that's okay as well. What number have you all discussed internally? Again, I already gave a mine. Give me yours. And that tends to work oftentimes. The fourth thing, now that we've done that, is I want to make sure that they understand the value of what they're getting. Not necessarily the features and benefit, but the outcome. When you partner with us, here is the solution we can guarantee that's you're going to get. 1, it's going to fix XYZ. Number 2, you're going to see X amount of traffic flow per month. And then number 3, you're going to see a conversion of anywhere from 50 to 60%. Now, giving them that specific based on the outcome of that investment, they can tend to see that, well, again, 5,000 or 15,000 is not bad. 16,000 is not bad, because our average deal size is 30,000. So they're gonna see that there's some monies they're gonna make back from it. So giving them that helps with so much clarity. And then also, what I talked about in my last episode is that you want to confirm that. If we can make the proposal in line with what we just discussed, giving you the exact solution and that outcome that we promise, would you have any problem moving forward? They're going to say, of course not. Let's move forward, Donald. And then you go through your mutual action plan. Great. So here's what we'd like to do next. Let's review the proposal on Friday, and then let's plan for if your team can execute it, our executive will execute it, and then let's plan for onboarding on Thursday of next week. Does that work? Great. I'm going to put that in a mutual action plan and the notes. I'll send over the calendar invite. What day and time, what time works on Thursday for the proposal review? Bam, bam, bam. They know what's coming. I know what's coming. Everything is in a mutual action plan, as clear as possible. And if you do what I told you in the last episode, you're going to also add that apples comparison if they're flirting with other companies as well. This is not too difficult. Listen, you're going to make it as awkward as if it's going to be awkward, it's going to be from you as a seller. Don't make it that awkward. Just be comfortable. If you're comfortable and you feel cool as a cucumber and you just explain to them the way that this is how it works, they're going to be like, okay, I'll follow this person. I trust them. I have good rapport. They have great reviews. The product sounds like it works. I saw the value in it, and just be cool. Don't make it awkward and all this ridiculousness. Listen, price is just a part of the game. Let them know this investment is going to help them solve the problem that they have at hand. But I've tried this time and time again, and I know it works. You got to do it. Don't skip over it unless you're going to be screwed. I have done that plenty of time as well. And it doesn't feel good when you don't get the deal. I want you to thrive. I want you to succeed. If you want to learn more about tips like this and to get actual practice and to actually tie this to your pipeline, to the goals that you have for next quarter, you should join our mastermind. Our mastermind goes for 90 days. We're going to help you hit the number in your quota, like straight up simple. If you're not doing the things that I coach you on in that mastermind, it ain't going to work. But if you join our mastermind and you do what I tell you to do, I promise you, you're going to see you hit your numbers. I've done this time and time again, and it has worked. If you want to find out more information about it to be a part of our next cohort, go to thesalesevangelist.com/mastermind. Again, thesalesevangelist.com/mastermind. As always, I want you to thrive. I want you to succeed. I want you to raise your level of thinking, but most importantly, I want you to go out and do big things. See you on the next one.